Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative, global cruise personalities. It is the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofcruising.net. It helps support the channel through our partnership with Where's Walters Travel. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I'm delighted to welcome this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, Chef Bri Bullard, creator of Authentique Delights. I learned of Chef Bri when I hosted Nikki and Tommie Jones of Jones Getaways a couple of months ago. The Jones had traveled on AmaWaterways, a Soulful Epicurean French river cruise on AmaKristina in June, a bucket list cruise Cheryl and I were booked for a few months later. Tommie mentioned in a way that I can just describe as mouth-watering Chef Bri's presence and culinary role on that journey. As you can hear me vow on the podcast, I did follow up with AmaWaterways to inquire whether Chef Bri was going to be on our voyage. She wasn't, but her presence was felt, which I will explain shortly. Jasmine Dowse, AmaWaterways Senior Director, National Account, said, "This past June, we invited Chef Bri. Her company is Authentique Delights, and she came on as a featured chef in June, and she was able to prepare a menu for us as we celebrated June 10th aboard the Soulful Experiences river cruise." So we are always looking to continually involve these experiences and add aspects to it. Do some trial and error, and this Juneteenth concept is one we want to incorporate in the future. Soulful Experiences, and it's our hope to be able to feature Black chefs on each one of these experiences. But it is a work in progress. At least for now, we established a fantastic itinerary with Chef Bri. She did a fantastic job, and there was much great feedback on board from the meals she prepared. Just talking about freedom and celebration of our heritage, and it was truly amazing. Chef Bri Bullard was born and raised in the Bahamas and has been passionate about cooking since the age of 8. Growing up surrounded by the bounties of the ocean, she developed a deep love for seafood, which has become a hallmark of her culinary creations. Her early interest in cooking was matched by her diverse skills, including certification as a welder, demonstrating her versatility and dedication. Chef Bri's exceptional talent has garnered her widespread recognition. She has been featured on CH News in Hamilton, Ontario, highlighted in the Tribune, the Bahamas national newspaper, and acclaimed in Cruise Critic. Her reputation as a world-renowned celebrity chef is well-deserved, having cooked for elites across France, the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. Known for her unique approach to cuisine, Chef Bri aims to create edible art through her dishes, seamlessly blending elegance with bold flavors. Her motto, "Fancy meets flavor, quality, fresh flavor always," reflects her commitment to high standards in both presentation and taste. Currently, Chef Bri is channeling her expertise into several exciting projects. She is working on a cookbook, offering cooking lessons, and developing a line of specialty seafood sauces. Her endeavors continue to inspire and delight food enthusiasts around the globe. Chef Bri is the third chef we have had the pleasure of hosting on the Joy of Cruising podcast, and I appreciate greatly that she has decided to join us. Welcome, Chef Bri, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Hello.
So how you doing?
I'm well. How are you today?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've heard great things about you. Before we discuss you and your involvement with AmaWaterways, tell our listeners about yourself in general, where you're from, where you live, growing up, your professional background, anything you would like to share with our listeners.
Well, I'm Chef Bri again. I'm based in Toronto, but I was born and raised in the Bahamas. Yeah, and I've been a chef basically all of my life. When I came to Canada in order to provide for my family, cooking wasn't cutting it for me, so I decided to change my career and I became a welder. And thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars later, I realized that's something that I wasn't passionate about, even though I like welding. I didn't feel it on the inside. And I was like, I'm just gonna cook. And at the time, I was living in someone's basement. I was like, I'm gonna cook. I started cooking. This business took off, and I've been running behind it ever since.
Wow, that's quite a change. Going to cooking, going from cooking to welding, but now you're back.
I'm back, and I'm not going anywhere.
What motivated you to move from Bahamas to Canada?
I feel like I have two boys. I have two kids. One now they're older, but they're 20 and 19. And I always wanted more from that for them. And the Bahamas is an amazing place to live. But when you live on the island, you live in a bubble. Like everything's so good. The water's there. Like the outside world really doesn't affect much. You live on the island, you do what you want to do. But I know that I was bigger than that. And I know that I wanted my kids to see more of the world. So that's why I decided to move.
Okay, okay. So how did your relationship with AmaWaterways come about?
Funny story. So I've been cooking for so long. I've been doing everyday orders. I've had a restaurant. I'm doing all of these things. And I decided that I wanted to make a transition into doing more of the caterings and the corporate caterings and the private chefing. I wanted to move in that direction. And as I wanted to move in that direction, there was this Black-owned bridal show that was coming to Toronto. And I was like, I think this would be a place for me to go and garnish some clients and just meet and greet some people. So coming down closer to the time of this event, I was like, maybe I shouldn't go because I would have to close my restaurant to be there. And I have to pay to be there and I wouldn't be able to sell anything. Usually when I do vendorship, I can go and I can sell stuff. So it'll always be a profit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to pay about over $1,000 for this table and I wasn't able to sell anything. But I was like, you know what? This is the direction I want to go in. I'm going to go anyway. I didn't bring any help. It was just me that day. I set up everything. I wasn't allowed to sell food. And next to me was AmaWaterways.
Wow.
And I know, right? And I had such a connection. The first time I met Jasmine, she was so amazing. She is still amazing. She has the heart of gold. She is very intuitive and intelligent, knowledgeable on what it is that she does. And we hit it off. And she was like, well, hey, how would you feel about, coming on a cruise, maybe as a guest chef, doing yada yada? I was like, yeah, I was thrilled. But
So let me jump in. So Jasmine was at the table next to you.
yes,
Wow.
I know.
Just so the listeners are aware, Jasmine is, I believe, I mentioned it in the intro. I think she's the director of national accounts for
Yes.
AmaWaterways.
So yeah,
Wow, that is amazing that I'm so glad that you chose to go ahead and spend that. Something was telling you, go ahead and spend that $1,000.
Paul, something was telling me. And I went there and I went with a positive attitude. I was like, you know what? I'm already here. It is what it is. Now, I'm not supposed to be selling food. So I just made food like for display. But there was a lot of vendors there. So I would just secretly just sneak them some food because people was hungry. But that's our business. But anyway, so yeah, Jasmine and another guy was there, and I just absolutely hit it off with them. They were so amazing. We just blended. It was a vibe. And so she's like, well, how would you feel about, maybe doing some guest chef appearances? But I really, people talk. So I just took it as face value. I thought I would probably never see her again.
Right.
So 2 months later, we had a meeting. And then we had another meeting. And then we had another meeting. And I was like, wow, this is happening. And it was crazy. So they invited me to be a guest chef on their cruise at the south of France. And I think I did a good job. I'm so happy that I met them.
Wow. So at the time, were you a cruiser? Had you cruised?
I have been on one cruise in my entire life. and it was a big cruise line. And I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it again, but it wasn't my favorite cup of tea. However, if I had never done a river cruise before, I would have never known how good cruising could have been. River cruising that's probably one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Do you remember when and what ship was your one cruise on?
Wow, that had to been, I want to say maybe 2000, somewhere between 2005-ish, between 2005 and 2006. And it was Carnival. They cruise frequently to the Bahamas. So I went on a cruise for 3 days, just in a few islands in the Caribbean. And it was nice, but it was really big. Like, it was huge. And I'm like a subtle person. Well, I'm not subtle if you know me, but I like solitude. So, but I find it was just too many people for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did that river
Mm-hmm.
cruise,
Mm-hmm.
oof,
So that river cruise was the first one. You weren't there just to observe, right? This one you actually cooked.
I actually cooked and I relaxed as well. I did both.
So this was the cruise, the Juneteenth cruise?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you go on both? I understand there were two of them in June of this year. Did you go on both or just one?
I did both.
Okay. Okay. Did you have any, going on the cruise, given your one experience with that super big cruise, were you concerned at all about river cruising? I guess you didn't know much about it, right?
I didn't know much about it and I didn't know what to expect, but I came in with an open mind and it definitely, whatever I could have thought, it succeeded that, exceeded that.
So, how's it going with AmaWaterways? Can we expect to see you again?
You know what? I'm always hopeful and I'm always open to a collab. I'm not sure if that's the route they're going in because there's also another cruise coming that's the Epicurean cruise in Portugal. I think it's in November. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I'm always open and down to do a collab with them because uh like I said in my introductions on the cruise that 50 years ago, you would have never seen a group of Black people sailing the seas in France. So anything to do with the empowerment,
20 years ago, you wouldn't have seen. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have
10
seen
years
that.
ago, you wouldn't even have seen that. So it was just a privilege to be there and to do that with people that look like us and just, having soul food on a soul cruise with soulful people. I will always be down to do that.
Well, I tell you, I had on my show, on my podcast, a couple, Nikki and Tommie Jones of Jones Getaways. And
Oh, I love them.
you remember them.
I love them. I love them.
And when they were describing your cooking,
And she
Fantastic.
ended up the next day, she cooked dinner, and you're like, oh my goodness, okay. And then she cooked Juneteenth dinner, and let me tell you something. I'm pausing because my mouth is watering. I got white. But oh my goodness, it was amazing.
Tommie just had my mouth watering with his the way he was talking. And so as soon as I finished the interview with Nikki and Tommie, I contacted Jasmine. I have a little bit of rapport with Jasmine. Haven't met her, but she's definitely. I'm writing an article on a Emma River cruise that I just completed, and so I wanted to get some quotes from her for the article, and. But I reached out to her and I said, "Is Chef Bri going to be on our cruise?" And unfortunately, our cruise was the same one that you went on in June. It was in just completed.
Yeah, I remember.
August. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was made clear that you weren't going to be on. One of the afternoon. We have classes and various lectures and things in the afternoon, and one was about you. It had a short video, and then that evening at dinner, it was a Chef Bri inspired dinner, and we had all of the things or most, I think everything that Tommie mentioned, we had. I mean, I remember him describing that watermelon salad. He described it as something I didn't know I needed in my life. It was good. So you did a good job in imparting to the cooking staff on AmaKristina, what you're about and what goes into your cooking. I'm sure it wasn't as good as when you were there, but it was pretty doggone good.
We'll be right back.
The Joy of Cruising podcast guests receive a gift sponsored by GigSky of a 3 gigabyte cruise plus land data package valued at $60. Relying on ship Wi-Fi is slow, unsecure, and sometimes not available. And at foreign ports, travelers don't want to pay their carriers high fees. GigSky provides a solution that will save them a significant amount of money. To get your own data package usable on the ship or in ports, here is my link to GigSky. https://gigSky.pxf.io/NLOXOR. This can be found in the show notes below. For a 10% discount, use the code Joy of Cruising.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So yeah, I gave them permission to use the menu and my recipes. Of course, even when I was there on the other cruise in June, I told them, I said, listen, Soulful and soul food isn't about so much the recipe. It is the first and the most important ingredient is love. You have to want to do this. That is what makes the food so good. You have to feel it. It's not something you can just follow step by step and get the results you want. And that's what I explained to them. So I heard good things that they were able to, definitely do as I would please.
I asked Jasmine, about involving you on the cruise, and she clearly felt like it was something that they wanted to do more of, but she also indicated it's kind of a work in progress. So there's some corporate reality, so we'll see what they come up with. But what I do know after taking that cruise, the Soulful version of that cruise, I want to do another river cruise, and I would be hard pressed to choose an itinerary other than the Soulful itinerary, because it was just so wonderful in so many ways. Not only the people on board made it nice, but seeing our culture represented in the various cruise stops and excursions that we went on. I'm partial. If I do another river cruise anytime soon, I'm partial to doing one of the Soulful itineraries. So, I hope that you're in their future. So when you got on that cruise in June, did you get on at the beginning in Lyon, or did you join the cruise midway?
Nope, I got on in Lyon. I went both ways. I did both cruises, and yeah, it was amazing.
I assume, did you have staff to keep your restaurant open in Canada?
Yeah, so right now my restaurant, I closed the restaurant year before last. I'm actually working on a new project where I'm having a dine-in location and a more immersive experience when it comes to dining. So that's something I'm working on right now. But in the meantime, what I do is I'm a celebrity chef and I travel all over the world providing amazing food with history behind it. I also, when I'm in Canada, when I'm in Toronto, I do pop-ups. So I do a pop-up restaurant with brunches and lunches and dinner.
Oh, okay. So talk a little bit about being a celebrity chef. What does that look like?
So that looks like, so I provide food for clients that are a certain socioeconomic class. that actually want to pay for the comfort of having a chef come directly to their home, or, just that piece of knowing that, you know what, I have a chef that's going to come and I'm just going to put this on them. So my job is basically to make your life easier. I have a lot of clients, they'd be like, Chef Bri, this is what I need. This is what I need it for. That's it. They put that on me. They don't want any questions. They don't want any stress. You handle that. They give me full creative control. So I love what I do. And they love being able to put all of their food related burdens on me. And I'm okay with that. So that's basically what it looks like now. Right now, in a few days, I'm getting ready to head to Virginia for actually some of a group of people that hired me from the first cruise in June.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yes. So they hired me to come out. They're having a bourbon themed party, and they hired me to be the chef for that. So I'm heading out for that very soon.
Very nice. Has there been any other opportunities that sprang from your involvement with AmaKristina?
There's been quite a few opportunities. I'll be going to California for a birthday party that I was hired for somebody I met. On one of the cruises, there was the actress Kim Fields. She was in love with the watermelon salad. And right now we're talking about having me on the set of Netflix to create meals for the staff.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Now, on the two French River cruises that you did, the way it sounded when I was talking to Nikki and Tommie was like your role didn't present itself, for lack of a better way of saying it, until sort of like midway through the cruise. So you just kind of relaxed.
No, there's still lots of work to be done. So like I said, I did both cruises, and on both cruises, I cooked 2 days. But prior to cooking, you have to go shopping. So I went shopping. I did the prep, make sure everything was done. So you have to prepare the menu. So all of these things, well, the menu was already prepared, but just making sure that everything's going to be perfect and prepared for the next day. So yeah, even though I wasn't cooking every day, some days I was definitely busy doing prep and ensuring that everything would be perfect for the day that I did prepare dinner.
What was it like, if I may ask, what was it like interacting with the culinary staff that was already there? Were you well received? Did they kind of like, I don't know, talk about that?
So it was something that I've never really experienced, because usually wherever I go, I'm well respected, and my expertise is definitely held in high regard. I didn't so much feel that when I got there. When I got there, the staff itself, the kitchen staff, they were amazing. They loved me, but I would say maybe with the corporate chef, I feel like there was a little bit of friction. I'm not sure if it was because I was a woman, or because I was Black, or because I was a chef coming in. I'm not sure what it was, but I feel like there was a bit of friction in terms of the processes of cooking, and just with my brand. So my brand is fancy meat flavor. Me personally, the French cuisine is not the only way of cooking. And I felt when I was there that because it wasn't their style of cooking, it was not uplifted. It was sort of kind of frowned upon. Because even when I was making my first time doing the dinner on the first cruise, when I was making the jambalaya rice, we have our process of cooking. When you cook jambalaya rice, when you cook any rice, as a matter of fact, you do what you have to do. You close the pot, you leave it. Anybody knows that. Every 5 minutes, I turn around and they're stirring the pot. That caused the whole rice, the consistency was completely messed up. And I still had to send it. I was so mad. I was very angry. But you have to maintain a certain amount of professionalism when you're in another space. So
Right.
certain stuff like that is just small stuff that like I felt like they weren't able to take orders from me. Now, the kitchen staff and the kitchen help, the prep cooks, they were amazing. Anything I needed them to do, they did. But in terms of when it came to the head chef and the corporate chef, I feel like there was a little tension there, but nothing that I can't work through. I've been through worse in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you get to accompany both cruises? I think it was the same itinerary that we had. So both cruises went to Paris. Did you get an opportunity to enjoy Paris?
I didn't go to Paris. I just stayed on the cruise.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first cruise went that group of guests, they went and they went on to Paris for 3 days. Then we picked up the next crew and then we went back to Lyon and that was it.
Okay. So you didn't get to go to Paris either time.
I didn't know.
Have you been to Paris?
I have.
Okay. Have you cooked in Paris?
I have not cooked in Paris, not yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed the Paris cuisine. There were a few things different. I know, for instance, I love every time I go on a cruise, the big mainstream cruises. The only time I eat escargot is on the big mainstream cruises, and the way they serve it, or at least the way, for me, the way it's always been served, is it's out of the shell. It's sort of like in some garlic butter, and you can dip your bread in it. Um, and in Paris, it's common to serve escargot in the shell. So that was one difference that I noted from, and that's probably the right way. I'm not saying that the way the big cruise lines do it is the right way, but that was a difference for me. Another difference for me, I didn't know how popular, and I might be saying it wrong, moule frite, which is mussels and French fries.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know how popular that was. I read that's the second most popular dish in France or in Paris. I can't. Yeah, France, in
Yes.
France.
In France.
And so I like them both. I've had them many times, but I've always had them separately. I didn't know that
Mm,
mussels and fries was
go
sort of
together.
a dish.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so little subtle things like that.
But the thing is, so for me, food is objective. And certain things, if it's not cultural per se, I feel like there's no right or wrong way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in terms of escargot, many people make it different ways. It's not exclusive to a certain, country. So yeah, but escargot, me personally, I don't eat escargot, but I know a lot of people who do like it. I'm from the Bahamas. We eat, some people call it a sea snail, which is conch.
Yeah, I love conch.
I love conch to the death of me. We eat conch, everything. You can get it fried, you can get it baked, you can get it broiled, you can get it steamed, you can have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I love conch. So if I'm going to waste my calories, it's going to be on conch and not escargot.
So promote authentic. Am I saying it right? Authentique
Authentique.
delights. So talk about what you specialize in and the overall philosophy of your cuisine.
So Authentique was founded back in 2019, more in 2018, but uh, really in 2019. And we specialize in seafood. Being from the Bahamas, I found that there was a lack of fresh, flavorful seafood here in Canada, and I just wanted to bridge the gap between the two. Um, so with Authentique, it is my mission to bring flavor and quality together. Flavor and fanciness together. Because as I said previously, in French cuisine, to me, and I find that this is a popular opinion, French cuisine is very beautiful. is very meticulous and articulate and particular in what they do. But personally, me, it's not my favorite cuisine because I don't find that there's a lot of flavor in it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do is, a person being from the Caribbean, what I want to do is I want to bring the fancy and the flavor. You can have both. I don't want to go to a restaurant where I'm paying $90 a plate with 2 pieces of spinach and an escargot on the plate, and that's dinner. First of all, where's the rest of the food? I'm hungry. Where's the food, Paul? I'm hungry. 2 pieces of spinach and 2 escargots is not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you dress it up and make it fancy. You don't even want to eat it. It's so pretty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing is I've been bringing that flavor. I've been bringing the fanciness, and I put it together. And there you have Authentique, where everything. The reason why it's named Authentique is because I wanted people to know that you can have authentic food from a restaurant. You can have food that feels like it's made in the backyard, or feels like it was made in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, we don't cut corners. Everything is made to order. I put literally love into every meal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Any consideration to expanding? You alluded to earlier. You do some pop-ups, and you. I thought you said something about you thinking about a new sit-down restaurant. What are your expansion plans that you can talk about?
So right now, it's so many things I'm working on, to be honest with you. So we have the private chef, celebrity chef stuff that's going. People always find their way to me through word of mouth or whatever the case is. Also, because I started off in seafood, I make everything, but seafood is my specialty. And I make lots of seafood boils, and that was part of the reason. But that gained popularity for me in terms of everybody love a good seafood boil, and I created this seafood sauce. It's my signature lemon garlic butter seafood sauce. And I don't know if you notice, sometimes when you go out and you do have seafood, they usually give you like a garlic butter. It's cloudy at the bottom, and then there's the oil at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really flavor butter. So I've came up with the science behind it. I've came up with a recipe that I've made that creates an emulsion. So you're actually able to season the butter, and it holds its flavors. It doesn't separate. And I feel like that is why my sauce is so popular, and it's so good, and it's so flavorful. So I've been doing a test for the past 9 months to make sure that it's up to par in terms of all of the bacteria and all of everything that it would need to have the shelf life, so it can be stable and possibly on shelves in around Canada, maybe even the US very soon. So I'm working right now on the labels, and I'm redoing my website. So I'm doing a rebrand, and you're going to be able to buy my sauce online, and we're going to be shipping between US and Canada. And then also too, I'm working on a cookbook that's going to come, I'm hoping by mid next year, that the cookbook will be out, and it'll be for sale on all platforms. And besides that, I'm also working on doing cooking classes. So not your average cooking classes where you just come in and you cook. So what I want to do is I want to teach Black people and people of color that it doesn't take 5 hours to make a 5-star meal. And then also, we don't have to eat like how we was eating back in slavery. Like, we could still keep those flavors, but we could pick better choices in meats and still incorporate the things that we want in our foods. So it'll be a class where you come and you pay one set price, and it's probably about 5 or 6 people per table. You make a meal with everybody. There's a topic of conversation, and there's drinks, there's music. You break your bread with the people you made the food with, and you have a plate to carry home. So that's something else that I'm working on.
What does Chef Bri do in your me time when not being a celebrity chef?
Me time. I'm discovering what I like to do in my me time because for the most part, I've always been a mom. I've been a mother since I was even a child. And now that my kids are older and they're doing their own thing and they're in their lives, I've compiled a list of things that I've been wanting to try that I've been doing. So I like knitting and sewing. So I just joined a sewing class where I want to get into more into that. Um, I also want to learn how to speak French and Spanish. So that will come later on down the line. And then I joined piano lessons because I've always wanted to play the piano. So these are some of the things that I do. And then I like the water. I always find myself by the water. I don't know if it's because I was raised on an island. Like where I live on the outside of Toronto in a city called Oakville. And anytime you want to find me, you can find me by the water. I'm just sitting there, just relaxing. I love fishing. I don't fish so much here, but whenever I go home, I'm a fisher. I'm going on the water, I'm going fishing, I'm going to the beach. That's my favorite pastime. Water, anything.
Do you go home to the Bahamas
I
much?
do not as much as I would like, but yes, I'm working on that because these last few years was a building phase for me in my business. I really didn't have a lot of time for anything else. But now that I've restructured the business and how the trajectory in which it's going, I'm going to have more time to do more brief stuff and go and visit family back home and just relax and do some good stuff.
Any plans to cruise again?
I do have plans to cruise again. I've been looking at some cruises, Paul. So let's see. I don't know if anything can beat a soulful experience. Jasmine really did a big one with that. I don't think I would ever find a cruise that is so amazing. But let's see, because Patricia, who did the cruise that you were on, she has an amazing itinerary of cruises and stuff that she does. So I would definitely love to, one, work with her, and two, cruise with her.
Yeah, Patricia is wonderful, and she runs a series. Unlike the Soulful Epicurean, she runs a big traditional cruise once a year called Festival at Sea, and it sells out like as soon as it opens to the public. So
Hot cake.
yeah, and then she has an affiliated brand called Friends of Festival at Sea, and they do sort of high-end cruises on luxury vessels and exotic destinations, and that was what Soulful Epicurean was that I went on with Patricia. So she had on board, she had a comedian, a DJ, a dance instructor, and saxophone player who headlined a glorious gospel brunch. So it was very nice without all that Patricia brings, but then when you layer that on top of it, it was like a dream vacation. Plus we had Paris as well. So yeah, Patricia is someone that's good to know. Uh,
Yes, she's amazing. Her and her son both. I spoke with them in terms of getting the menu together for the cruise that you were on. Oh, they are such lovely people. I can't wait to possibly work with them and cruise with them because they seem like they know what they're doing.
yep, yep. Can listeners follow you on social media and the internet so they can keep up to when your cookbook is ready and when your restaurant is ready and what Chef Bri's going to be doing? I mean, maybe they want to know if you're going to be on another AmaWaterways cruise. How can we follow what you're up to?
So I'm on all social media platforms. You can find me at Authentique Delights on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn. You can go to my website. Even though we're doing a rebrand, the website is still up. But yeah, you can follow us and find us there at all times.
What about other leisure travel? You said you definitely plan to cruise again. You have any leisure travel booked? You going home anytime soon?
I am going home. I'm going home in December and I'm going for 2 weeks. I just want to relax. I've been spending all of my holidays working, and all of my holidays I've been spent in the cold. And I'm from the Bahamas, so I want to be wearing some flip-flops in the winter. So I will be going home very soon to spend the holidays with my family and just relax. Even though they're going to put my ass to work, they want me to come and cook, Paul. Paul, they want me to cook. They're asking me, hey, so what we're going to do? And I'm like, we're not doing anything. They just want to buy the stuff and they want me to cook everything. But I have something for them. I'm going to make all of them do something. I'm not going to spend my whole entire Christmas cooking. But it's the thing about it is it's so interactive and it's so fun to get to be and spend time with family and cook together and just bond. So I'm actually looking forward to it. But yeah, as leisure travel, I get to go a lot of places for work. And usually if I have the time, if I don't have another gig book, I usually always spend a few extra days, take time to explore the city and do stuff. So I usually get it in with work.
You kind of mentioned some things that you have some how do you say it, irons in the fire. What does the future hold for Chef Bri?
To be honest with you, I want to retire. No, but not so much.
You're way too young to retire.
I know, but not so much retire where I'm not working. But I want to have all of those things that I set up, like the cookbook and the restaurant and the sauces. I want to have those stuff running. And then I want to be able to pick and choose and refuse the jobs that I want and where I want to go when I want to do it. So that's what's next for me, is just basically, my whole adult life has been, arguably, it's been a fight between work-life balance,
right,
or money and time.
Right.
And I want to enjoy both while I still have the energy to do so. So I don't intend on overworking. I don't intend on killing myself. I've been doing that for the past 20 some years. And now I'm transitioning into an easier life. I'm doing what I love. Paul, I love what I do. I promise you, it is so very rare to find your passion and your purpose in this life. And I've been able to do that. And I've been so happy giving up my 9 to 5 to work 24 hours.
I can tell. I know you are very busy, so we're gonna let you get back to it. But before we let you go, I just have a couple of fun questions, and then maybe an oddball question, in that it doesn't really relate to cruising or even cooking. But we'll talk about that in a minute. The first question is just to give me some ideas. What are your favorite things to drink and to eat that's not prepared by you?
Oh, jeez. That's a rough question, Paul. Because, first of all, I'm the best chef. I don't really trust a lot of people, so let's see. My favorite thing to drink would be, I love a lemonade. Paul, I would drink lemonade to the death of me. I'll drink lemonade all day, every day. Give me a lemonade. I'm not much of an alcohol drinker at all. So lemonade would be my first pick for anything. And as far as food goes, that's interesting. So I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from the Bahamas, like I said before. I know. But Caribbean food is a different type of food. Like the love and the cleanliness and the care that is put into Caribbean food, for me, will always be my top tier. So in terms of cuisines, it would be a toss-up between Creole, like Haitian food, and Bahamian food. And out of those cuisines, I would say my favorite thing would probably be stew fish. So stew fish is, everybody has their own version, but the Bahamian version we eat for breakfast. So it's a brown, thick stew, and there's fish in there, and we eat it with this fresh bread called Johnny cake. It's a very dense, buttery bread. We eat it together, or we eat it with grits. Listen to me, Paul. I would eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just that. And chicken wings. I love chicken wings.
Fish stew and chicken wings.
Yes.
All right. Next question. And you could look at this from the perspective of as a chef, or from the perspective of the few cruises that you've done, so either one of these will work. What's your most memorable or funniest or even most embarrassing chef experience? Doesn't have to be all three, but just one item that stands out in your
I don't
mind.
know. Funniest, memorable. Okay. So when I first started Authentique, um, I would do vendors. Like I would be a vendor at different places. And I wanted it as ways and means to get my name out there.
Yes.
And I joined this market. I joined two markets in the Christmas of 2000, in the holiday season of 2019. One market was the beginning of December, and the next market was the following week. Now, I joined this market, I paid, and I also paid the deposit for the other market. And I prepared so much food. I would say, let's just say I went to this market with 150 plates. When I was done the market, I went back with 152 plates because no one bought.
Get out.
No one, Paul, not a single plate was sold.
Wow. So you had just started Authentique?
I had just started Authentique and I made all the seafood lasagna, and I used to make this tropical dish with the pineapple and the fried rice with the shrimp, and no one bought anything. I had to throw out everything.
Oh my
Paul,
goodness. That hurts just to hear that.
Paul, when I told you, I cried myself to sleep. I talking about boo-hoo, snotty nose crying for 2 days. But for me, I've always been able to adapt and pivot when things don't go the way it's planned. And because now, after that, I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've already paid the deposit for the next market. How am I going to work this? I'm not going to get my money back if I don't go. So I have to see it through now. So I was like, okay, what can I do? I tapped into my culinary past experiences and I was like, people like shows. People like vibrance. People like to see stuff. And I was like, well, how can I do that and not waste the food? So I came up with a concept where I cook on site. So wherever I'm a vendor at to this day, I cook on site. Mostly I'm cooking seafood. Shrimp doesn't take long, just 2, 3 stir fries and you're done. So what I did was to the next market, I bought these bunch of portable stoves. And when people order, I would cook up the food. And that time I sold out. I sold out in 2 hours. And if it
Wow.
wasn't for that market in particularly, Authentique would not be a thing because I would have quit. The first market almost killed me.
Wow. That's a great example of learning from your mistakes. Although I don't know really what your mistake was. Why weren't people buying your dishes?
I have no idea. It could have been a number of things. I feel like there was an entry fee to get into the place, and I feel like people already probably spent money that they had. And my food is not so much popular, right? Everybody likes jerk chicken and rice and fries and stuff like that. When I'm selling tropical shrimp and rice and pineapple bowls and all of these things. So it could have been the difference in people just not knowing what it is.
Wow. I still cringe. I'm glad that you really learned and recovered the second time, but I still cringe at that first time. I wish I was your neighbor then. You wouldn't have had to throw it away.
Piles of food, Paul. I talking about piles and lasagna with seafood, with lobster, crab, and shrimp. I
Oh
threw
my
out with
goodness.
fry. I threw out this pineapple shrimp I would make with a ginger honey garlic sauce. I threw out everything.
Why didn't you just feed the neighborhood?
No, I don't know why, but I was just so sad. Honestly, I was so mad. I was ready to quit. I was ready to quit, Paul.
Well, that was a great lesson that you learned, and
Very good.
that's the reason why you're so you're doing so well today. So,
Thank you.
the last question, this is the question I call an oddball question because it doesn't necessarily have to do with being a chef or AmaWaterways or any of that. I know, or at least I hope, some of your following and friends are listening. So welcome to the Chef Bri friends and fans. We certainly hope you have enjoyed listening to the Joy of Cruising podcast, and we'll come back to listen to additional episodes. So, Chef Bri, share one thing that my listeners and your friends and fans don't know about Chef Bri.
Ooh, that's a good question. First of all, shout out to 242, the Bahamas, born, bred, and dead. My sister Blaine, my best friend Omo, Talia, my boys, Marijuana Fini, and anyone and everyone that has had a hand in helping me get to where I'm at today. I appreciate everyone. And something no one knows about me. I don't think people know that I'm antisocial to an extent. I'm a talker. I love to talk. I'm usually the life of the party. I like to talk foolishness and jokes, but you would think that when I'm home, I'm lively. I'm not. I am a homebody. I don't go out much. I love my bed. I love my bed a lot. I have a serious relationship with my bed. No, you have no idea. Like when I get home and I'm going and I'm rushing past her and I go to my bed, my bathroom, I'm like, I'm coming right back, sweetie. I miss you. I love you. I see what you're doing. I'm coming. I love my bed. Like if you give me an option to go out, I have to literally like hype myself to go out. That's how serious it is for me. Like I need at least 2 weeks of it in advance to mentally get prepared to go somewhere. Because I really love home. And it's something I'm working on to try and get out more, but I'm not a big crowd lover. I feel I get a lot of social anxiety when I'm around a big crowd. So, but yeah, I think people don't understand. People don't know that I have social anxiety a lot.
You sound like you are an introvert that does a good job of playing an extrovert.
I'm an extrovert. No, yeah, I'm an intro extrovert.
Yep,
I'm both.
Yep.
Because I go out and I just put the smile on and people think that I'm just the most social person in the world. And to be honest, really, I'm not. I don't like to be bothered. I love home.
Well, Chef Bri, thank you so much for coming on the Joy of Cruising podcast. Clearly, great things are happening for you and will continue to happen for you. I sure hope that I get the opportunity to meet you on an AmaWaterways river cruise, because I said I'm going to take another one, and it's going to be a soulful one.
You should.
And if that doesn't happen, I will keep up with your career, and somehow I got a feeling that down the road I'll get an opportunity to interact with Chef Bri again.
You will. We're best friends now. We're locked in.
There you go. There you go. All right, Chef Bri, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99, can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.